Welcome back everyone. This is our complete review of the Canyon rooftop tent. We've already actually done this before, but we're redoing a lot of our older videos to update them and get you through it. So first we're going to do a basic run through of the actual setup, so opening it up, and then we'll actually go through all the features. So the idea of all this is so that we can get to a lot of places that are normally inaccessible and enjoy the great outdoors that we have available to us in Western Australia. And then if you've seen our trip videos, you'll have noticed that my rooftop tent goes with me to all of those, and that's where I've used it all. And if you missed the self-installation and then you want details on the actual setup more than just the basic run through, that's part of that, and there'll be a link in the description that'll take you to that video where you can watch both the self-installation, or you can skip ahead and watch the setup just itself. Now this is all thanks to PPD Performance and Canyon Off-Road. So PPD Performance, they offer you all your stuff on your full drive modifications and accessories, and camping stuff in relation to Canyon Off-Road. So I want to say a big thank you for them helping making this video possible. So make sure you go and check out their site or their store. I also want to say a big thank you to our new 2 Patreon supporters for coming on board. They help make all of these videos possible, and content and our trips possible. If you don't know what Patreon is or would like to have a look at it and think about supporting us, there'll be a link in the description below. It not only helps us create content, but it also helps us provides benefits for you as well, and gives you a lot of stuff. So make sure you check that link out. This also here diagram, I want us to point out that most people that watch our videos don't actually subscribe, so we want to encourage you to please subscribe if you watch our videos and you enjoy them. Please subscribe, it helps us grow our channel, and more importantly, when we hit 1,000 members, we're going to be doing a big giant giveaway. So as we get closer, we'll release more and more information on exactly what we're going to be giving away when it comes down to it. Now, getting stuck into the actual rooftop tent for today. So this is how you open it with the rear ladder at full extension, and then you basically adjust the ladder to the height of where it is that the tent is situated. And the ladder is very strong. Now normally I leave my tent at this stage. Now this was actually the first time I set it up, so this is sped up to like 1.5 speed, so it's actually not that much faster than normal, and this was my first time setting up, so I was actually kind of slow trying to figure out how everything went together the very first time I used it. That's me rolling up the front door, well, what I call the front door. You can actually peg that out if you don't want to roll it up, and then there's a fly screen behind this as well. I actually leave my sheet and my blankets inside, so that when I stop I just throw my pillow inside, and if I don't want the windows open because I don't need them because it's too cold, I don't bother with opening all the windows. But if I need the windows open for either letting air through if it's too hot, then I can open all the windows, and this is what this looks like when you do that. And I'll talk about it at the end, that when you open all these windows, and there'll be an arrows coming up in a minute to indicate there's some black markers here that are very kind of hard to see at the moment, but they help you tighten things down, and you can open up all the windows and it helps tighten everything up, because if it's all toggled down, that wind can actually make that flat. I'll talk about that at the very end of the video. So this is the ladder, because we want to talk about that while it's on the screen. So essentially that orange warning on the red down the bottom is the most important. It tells you essentially weights and what you can and can't do. So read that, that's very important if you've got that. This orange one is just saying don't put your fingers in between the gaps. These are the 2 toggles, you got to press both of them on the side to make it slide up, and then when you're opening it, you just pull it down and you'll hear a click, and it clicks into place and holds into place. So inside the tent, you have 2 air inlets both sides. Then you have these metal, so the aluminium bars that go around both sides, that go all the way around the outside of the tent. And then you have these nylon webbing that you can see that goes from one end of the tent all around to the other end of the tent, that's secured down into the metal framework and wraps around each one of those poles. So those poles can't go any further than the nylon webbing allows it, so it hangs it out in its structure. So the 2 green arrows are just pointing to the side windows, the yellow arrow is just pointing to that back windows, which is the same as the front, and that arrow there is just pointing to the skylight. This is a little Velcro tab, which we'll look at a bit later when we have a lot more detail. Now I'll put a link in the description as to the extra dimensions inside, but just to give you an idea, this is a 2-person one. Now when I'm 172, so if I extend my arms and legs out fully, I don't touch either end, and both my wife and I have slept in this without any issues. And that's the skylight. I really enjoy. This is a really cool feature. I haven't seen this in many rooftop tents. I'm saying many because I haven't seen it in any yet, but that's not to say there isn't. They're just the ones that I've been inside. I haven't seen it, but it's a really cool feature to have so far, and probably more and more will take advantage of this feature. Now this is that nylon webbing that I'm talking about again, where the arrow is pointing to, and how I'm indicating that it connects to each one of those aluminium poles that connect to the base, and it goes around both sides that supports this structure. That arrow there says that it's basically that nylon webbing is then basically comes into into the frame of the metal outside. You'll see it when we go lift up the mattress. You'll see it actually comes into the metal frame of the actual tent itself, so that helps hold that structure in place. Now these bags, I love these bags. These are fantastic. I don't know, I haven't come across rooftop tents with these, or at least that display them, so I think they're fantastic. There may be ones out there that do. You get 2, as you can see there's one on the ground. I usually put them one either side of the actual ladder, and I use one if I'm by myself, and if the wife's there, she uses the other one. They're great for putting your shoes and your bits and pieces in that you don't want to take inside your tent, because you don't want to take all the dirt and crap in there, especially because I keep my bedding in there. I want to keep it as clean as possible, so I put everything there, and it's got a flap on the top so you can close it down, and it contains and it stays waterproof. So these are the metal poles that are responsible for opening up those windows. They bend quite substantially, and they go inside these little holes. This one's already done for the front so that we can get in and have a look, and I've already toggled up both the front door and the fly screen portion. Now we come around to the side tent. You'll see these openings here, and when you open up, you'll see a little hole, and it's drilled at an angle, and it goes in at an angle until you push it in until it can't stop. And you can see there's a little V there where the arrow is pointing and my hand was on it. The V is this shape. You'll see at the end there's a hook that goes that way, and that goes into the eyelet of your actual window. So you know it's in the right position if the hook's in that position. So just keep that in mind. It's just something that helps make it easier when it comes to putting everything out as quickly as you want. So you've got pockets 2 on either side. Obviously the air vent that I've already mentioned. Those little toggles just above the zippers we'll talk about, and I might actually circle it various times, but you've got canvas, then there's fly screen, then you have the toggled window on the outside of that. You can put it up from inside the tent or outside the tent. It's really however you prefer. And then this little bit there is where, because that's the structure where it folds, there's a Velcro part that you Velcro down to stop air coming in if you don't want air coming in underneath through that gap there. So looking at the mattress, this is really important, the thickness and the firmness of this mattress, and then the floor on it underneath. So underneath that's not directly hard, it's kind of soft, and then it's got a harder base underneath it. That's that metal framework that bolts the metal poles but allows them to move until they can't move anymore based upon the nylon webbing. And that's what helps keep this structure together and makes it really, really strong and stand up to the test of time. The amount of forward driving and rough forward driving I've done with this, and the amount this tent has been through has just been nuts so far, and it's held up without one hiccup whatsoever so far. So I've been loving it, and that's just me doing the window and toggling it open. So you can have there's 2, and it's obviously see-through but waterproof, so you can open it up regardless of whether it's raining or not. You can have daylight or you can look at the stars, it's up to you. Same with all the windows, you can open them or not. Those are the metal poles are that strong, and you know, I lift myself up and I weigh over 100 kilos. That was just circling those toggles that you can just see there in the frame now. They're just little round toggles, and they'll become evident why we have those later. That bag is where all the poles go to open up your windows. Inside here is the temp pegs and the rope where I say you can open up your front door and peg it out so it isn't rolled up and opened up. You can do that if you wanted to as well. And this is one of those things about the fact that I really like those little handy things. As you get out, you can put your shoes on before you get out so you can get dirty feet on the way down out of the ladder, so when you get out you can put them on. So I've got to say, some of the features and the little bits they think about are fantastic. So this is the mattress and how it velcros down. So this is the nylon webbing, and you can see the metal frame around the outside. That then fixes to the metal frame, and that's what helps hold the structure all in place. And then they extend that out further so that the velcro can then attach onto the mattress. And these are those elastic clips, and they clip onto those little toggles on either side of the tent, and with a little clip, and it helps pull the sides in when you go to close the tent. So what I do is I unhook one side and leave them all on the other side, and when I'm ready to leave and pack up, I just go across and link all four of them up so that when I fold my tent over, it pulls the sides in, and then when I put my cover across the top, it makes the job faster and easier, and that's what I'm really concerned about. And then all I do is I throw all the poles and stuff up the back so it's out of the way for when I close down the tent. The idea of all this is so that I can get away nice and quickly. So I hate things where it takes a long time to pack up and set up. That's one of the things that I've really detested over the years. And when I've tried tents and swags and stuff, it's many things that have put me off. So that's it. When it's finally put away, the cover's on, you've tied it up. I even just tie up my straps like that so they don't flap around in the wind as well. So yeah, I love it personally, and I've used it a heap off-road in all my trips. You can see it all throughout my trip videos. Now, in some of these videos, in these images, I wanted to point out how when you've got those windows open like that, it stretches everything out and it minimises all the flapping. Now, if you just toggle stuff, and most of the time, most of our trips, the wind hasn't been in a condition where it's blowing around that much that it's made enough noise to keep me awake. But if you toggle it down, it still is movement that's allowed through that, just because it's not taut. So when you put out the poles, it makes the whole structure more taut, and then you can use those black straps that are indicated in the arrows to then tighten up around the metal frame that's placed in place to then hold that structure even firmer and prevent any sort of excessive wind from making a lot of noise and disturbing your sleep while you try and get sleep, particularly because on a rooftop tent we're a little bit higher, so we might be subject to more wind than someone who's down low in, say, a swag. So that's just some pointers that I've noticed. But most of all, a lot of great features. The only thing I'd bring up is the mattress. Probably I probably want to improve that slightly, just because if you're lying on your side, especially if you've got two people, you don't get enough room to spread out. You might be lying on one side or one hip, and that hip might get a bit sore because of the compression that happens on a foam mattress. So that's the only things I think that I would look at changing and improving, or even just adding to it myself to make my trips more enjoyable. But all up, when I'm in it, I have a wonderful time, and it's held up fantastically well during all my adventures so far. And I've done plenty of them so far. If you just check out some of those trip videos, you'll see it in all of that. But if you've liked what you see, and also a big thank you to our Patreon supporters, as I've mentioned, so they help with all this possible. And as I mentioned, there'll be a link, go check that out. And if you like the video, hit the like and subscribe button and help our channel grow. And I thank you for listening, and hope you get some